Good morning. We have with us Mr. Ramesh Ramalingam K, Chief Executive Chola MS. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
What's the industry trend in process safety globally as well as in India?
Okay. Good morning, all. First of all, it's an honor for Chola MS Risk Services to be the knowledge partner, working along with the Indian Chemical Council, the Chemical Industries Association, FICCI, and the Manali Industries Association in this one of India's largest PSM conference on the importance of process safety for the chemical industry. So it is very, very important that today, where a lot of chemical industries in India have a very, very critical role to build the Indian economy. And as is the nature, process safety is inherent to any of the chemical industries, be it large oil and gas industries, refineries, petrochemicals, or the number of mid-sized chemical industries. So when we are talking about chemical industries, it is a combination of specialty chemicals, pharma, fine chemicals, and all of those, where process safety is increasingly becoming the fundamental to the operations. It is no longer a necessity, it is no longer a luxury. It is becoming more of a basic necessity for the industries to survive in the business. So that way, process safety is becoming an inherent and fundamental part of the business operations for a lot of chemical companies.
So, about the trends.
Okay, so if you look at the trends in terms of what is happening is, while in India, we do not have implementation of process safety management system as mandatory for the chemical sector. Of course, for the oil and gas sector, the OSD standard talks about certain elements of process safety management system, but our statutes definitely cover various elements of process safety management system, be it in terms of emergency response plan, be it in terms of process safety information, be it in terms of assessing the process safety risk. It is getting covered. But what is happening is that, as I was mentioning, in my previous setting, the context, for the chemical industry, PSM is becoming a integral part of their business operation. The way how it is helping them is in two ways. One, as the industry is growing and expanding, exploring multiple opportunities, adopting process safety practices is helping them to proactively identify the hazards and risks associated with various types of chemicals that they are handling. One. Second thing, the process safety management system is also helping them to strengthen their basic nature of operations, be it in terms of identifying the hazards and risk in a very formal way. Also, PSM helps to build competencies among the people. So when I'm talking about people, we talk about process safety, it starts from the very top, right from people at the board of directors level, the people at the executive level who run the operations, the frontline managers who play a very, very important role in working with the people who operate the plants, and the number of contract employees. So the adoption of a process safety management system is increasingly being done by a lot of chemical companies for this advantage, that it is helping them to also bring that competitive business advantage, especially when there are a number of chemical industries who are either into contract manufacturing or who actually sell a lot of their products both within India and outside. Adoption of PSM is also becoming a business enabler for them.
And what are the challenges that you oversee or that you foresee with respect to process safety management implementation in chemical plants?
So what happens is, in the field of process safety management is slightly different from the general workplace health and safety that we talk about. Because what happens in workplace safety, you talk about preventing incidents which are of more frequent in nature but of less severity. So we call it as workplace incidents. Whereas what happens in process safety management, these incidents are of very high severity in nature, but the occurrence of it is very, very low. So what inherently happens is that the challenge comes is, because of its very, very low frequency, generally is a tendency to forget or overlook these type of incidents. So you need to, in an organizational context, if you look at it, how do you build in the sense of vulnerability at various levels within the organization is a very, very important factor, right from the board of directors level to the frontline managers, to the people at the operating level. So that is one. Building the sense of vulnerability is one challenge. Second thing also is, what is also happening is, there are certain technical aspects related to, for example, the process safety information part of it. What happens is, how do you get access to some of those information, especially when you are operating plants for, let's say, 25 years, 30 years. So availability of some of the critical information, it takes a bit of time. I'm not saying it is not possible, but it takes a bit of time in terms of compiling that information. The third thing that happens is, while there are a number of process hazard techniques that are available which need to be adopted to identify the hazards and mitigate them, what are the right type of techniques that is applicable to a particular industry? For example, a technique that is applicable to a complex oil and gas installation or petrochemical installation need not necessarily be applicable in a mid-sized batch type plant. So even if the same technique needs to be used here, it needs to be customized. And the fourth one is building process safety competency among the middle managers and the frontline people. That is something which is very, very important, because as is the case in any safety culture journey, unless the people at the front line are not able to connect and see a value in implementation of these systems, the success of implementation of process safety management system will always be doubtful. So building process safety competency across the organization is another important challenge which many companies know. And the most important is, yes, fine, okay, in 2 years, 3 years, the moment you implement process safety management system, how do you sustain the momentum? How do you sustain and then go up the higher order of maturity in terms of excellence in a process safety is always something where you need to adapt, innovate, also learn from the best practices, what is happening within the country and outside. So that is always an ongoing activity that which many companies adopt to.